Failed with major repairs. Technical repair report for bidding. Restoration with permit by a fully licensed vendor. Engineer oversight. 3 site visits. Certification with owner liability in lieu of a load test. Load test still may be required by the AHJ.
Fire escape engineers. Inspector summary. This is Inspector Gabe. I'm here doing a preload test examination. Fire escape inspection. Right off the bat, fire escapes must be painted, number 1. Number 2, fire escapes must be structurally sound. At this point, this fire escape has failed, and I'll be explaining some of the reasons in this video, and also I'll make a report where you'll get additional photos and this video to guide you with the necessary repairs in order to comply with the latest and greatest California Fire Code and Los Angeles City Fire Code. As you can see, this building is a 2-story building. It's quite unique because it's actually another building in the other side, which I'll show you throughout the video. I don't know if you can see it from this angle, but as you can see, that's the parking lot there, and this fire escape here is located in Maple and 15th Street. So that's 15th Street, and this is Maple here. This fire escape, it's a metal fire escape, original hardware detected all over this fire escape. No evidence of maintenance, and I'll be explaining why, but for the most part, no evidence of maintenance ever on this fire escape. This fire escape is anywhere from 75 to 100 years old. Why, you might ask why? It's because on top of some of the building characteristics here, represented in this 2nd-story building, as you can see, it have a balanced ladder. So I'll start off, I already showed you a little bit of the fire escape system. It's a platform with rails. It has a balanced ladder that gets to grade. Currently that's inoperable, and I'll be explaining a little bit further more on this video. But as you can see, my initial findings was that it has original hardware in the form of square head bolts. So these are anywhere from 50 to 75 years old. So since I haven't seen any swapping taking place, meaning that they take this out and introduce new hex head bolts, that's a clear indication that it's been maintained, meaning that it's been reinforced correctly. At this point, we haven't seen that. But the good thing is that a part failing from needing a paint job, it does not contain any internal rust yet. So I haven't seen any internal rust yet, so that's one good item to note. However, all these connections are original connections, anywhere from 50 to 75 years old, needing to be swapped out at this point in time in lieu of a load test. And keep in mind that even if you swap them out, it still may be subject to a load test, meaning 100 pounds per square inch on this platform. So you have to do the mathematics and also the engineering to calculate the proposed load for this fire escape system. At this point, I see a little bit of spacing going on, so there might be a good indication that there might be rust happening. So we want to go ahead and further investigate that and note if anything. At this point, we'll see this is all filled with surface rust. It needs a 100% paint job. This fire escape needs a full-blown paint job. Now keep in mind, pre-1978, so by all means, it's assumed to have lead. So EPA lead rules do apply here, and making sure that a company with a renovator's license is able to do the work here in terms of the paint job. This connection here is held by this rivet. Rivets are anywhere from 75 to 100 years old, so that's another indication of how old this fire escape system really is. At this point, we're safely saying that it's more than 75 years, given this rivet here. Like I said, no evidence of maintenance ever. Now it's flat here, connected by rivets. Now we need to see structural connections at 100% bolt replacement. So for example, there we see its original hardware still. This platform here needs a full-blown paint job as well. You want to go ahead and introduce silicone so you could seal the connections. As you can see, original square head bolt has never been swapped. Now at this point we don't see any tilting or pulling away from the building, so that's another good indication. That's good that it's well tied back into the building. However, we're not able to verify that in this current inspection, visual inspection. Non-destructive testing to occur in order for us to investigate whether or not there's a tie back into the building. And with a plate there, should be 12 inches deep. However, that's to be further investigated. Just making a note of that. Like I said, you can see a lot of the paint no longer there. You have that railing connection needing to be swapped off and reintroduced with rebolt with hex head bolts. New evidence of maintenance needed. As you can see, all these connections here are riveted together. These flats are riveted into place with the bottom structural connection holding this platform. Okay, now let's move along. Talk about this chain here. It's has a little hole in here which holds it in place. So let me go ahead and demonstrate how it works. So when you're ready to evacuate from a burning building, occupants would be able to release this chain. They could decide to drop it. Just make sure you do it carefully. You don't want to have it dangling and swinging and causing an interruption in your evacuation. However, at this point, this fire escape has failed, and one of the reasons is that this system here, this balance ladder that goes that's being held tight together by this structural angle and connection, that hasn't been maintained at all. Why? Because we see the same bolts as it was installed still there. So just imagine anywhere from 50 to 75, and in some instances in this fire escape, 75 to 100-year-old equipment and hardware. So as you can see, where we see some hydraulic oil or hydraulic grease coming out, it no longer works. It's inoperable. I already tried releasing this lever here, which is mechanical, bolted together by this original bolt here, square head bolt. What it does is some mechanical connection, so it goes from closed position to open position. So you'll be able to get this balance ladder down with the help of this release arm and chain cabling here. At this point, it's filled with rust. It's rusted completely. So we see evidence of for example, there we see evidence of surface rust becoming internal. So that's a major concern for these systems here. These little cylinder blocks, we see some grease and oil there. Good indication that this has failed and this needs to be rebalanced and repaired in full. So some of these items might be salvageable, but still it's further investigation to be is required, to be postponed. As you can see, this should drop 2 to 3 feet per second to grade, giving occupants a chance to escape, go to a safe haven, maybe in that area or that area. But the whole point is to escape a burning building. And if they have this means that does not work, it needs to be fully repaired. So at this point, this is one of the areas of major concern. The cabling system needs to be re-looked at. At this point, it failed. So we need a full repair on that lever there. We might also want to make sure we rebolt that connection, introduce new hardware. Here, this railing system, this is the only railing system that are hollow type rails. This just prevents kids and people from falling into this hole pit and eventually breaking an ankle, breaking their back, or worse, losing their life because they tripped and fell inside before they could put this balance ladder to its position for egress. Like I said, fire escape engineers, I'm here at Maple Avenue. We're conducting a pre-load test examination. At this point, we're not able to proceed with the load test because we have structural issues of concern that require additional attention and additional items like repairs before we could get this certification going with this fire escape. As part of the project, part of the process, our office will notify you, would explain to you the process. If you want engineering oversight, we'll give you exactly how many bolts you need to replace, exactly where, and what are the other areas that require immediate attention. At this point, I'm not able to evacuate to grade because this balance ladder is not functional as of today's inspection. Not working. Now that looks to be seal, a good tight seal there, but we don't see no caulking, no evidence of maintenance at all. So we might want to include refurbishment there, meaning that replace the ladder, the balance ladder, the cabling system. We introduce new. We swap those bolts out, introduce new hex head bolts. That's gonna get you in lieu of a load test. Here based on fire department, this property received a violation. Fire escapes must be inspected and certified every 5 years. And at this point, it failed. It needs a paint job, full paint job, and also requires structural work for this fire escape. Here, consistent of a platform, rails, balance ladder. Now I'll be on the bottom, taking note of the structural tiebacks into the building, for example there, which I'll show you there, making sure there's no cement cracks or any indication of water penetration in there. At this point, I don't see any of that. Now it looks, this connection, like I said earlier, I already recorded this piece. It looks to be in okay position, just with that original hardware in the form of a rivet. 75 to 100 years old. We would like to swap that out and introduce a new bolt in there. Our office gives you the exact specifications and measurements for each bolt, making the situation even easier. As you can see, original hardware. Even though we don't see no internal rust yet, it's still original hardware, and we can't guarantee that it's still structural safe in terms of its integrity. For example, there we see a lot of oil coming out already. Bad shape, that needs to be replaced. Some further oil here. Way too much oil there. Good indication that even oil contributes to rust accumulation in between the connections. So after all the repairs are done on this project, on this fire escape system, we will also like to introduce some silicone shut components, meaning that we want to go ahead and use silicone, anywhere from 25 to 50 year silicone that's actually paintable, so you could paint over it any color you want, in order to prevent any water penetration, and eventually it will prevent from rust jacking to eat that connection and then cause a greater hazard or greater condition that requires further attention. We recommend replacing every single hardware here connection, preferably everything, but major structural definitely has to happen. Minor, if it looks good with no rust, could be left as is. However, all major structural, like this connection here, and other connections holding major connections like that one there, we gotta see some kind of maintenance going on. We need to see full refurbishment on that end. We'll be able to explain more in the report. This is Inspector Gabe, Fire Escape Engineers, Fire Escape System number 1 of 2. The other system will be caught on in the next video. As you can see, it goes through this second floor into this door that you cannot see at this point, but I'm pointing towards the direction of egress. So I believe this building will have also to comply with egress requirements, like providing exit signs. So you'll probably be seeing some here addressing this fire escape and some over there addressing the other means of escape. Fire escape engineers, Inspector Summary. This is Inspector Gabe. I'll be continuing my video in the next couple seconds. Thank you.
Load test still may be required by the AHJ. Failed with major repairs. Technical repair report for bidding. Restoration with permit by a fully licensed vendor. Engineer oversight. 3 site visits. Certification with owner liability in lieu of a load test. Fire escape issues. Photos represent what the violations are, not where they are or how many exist. Pass-fail inspection, not technical repair report.